First of all, thank you for everything. There have been some fantastic performers, and I'm really impressed. I'm pretty happy about this. So, I have been told that it's raining, and my stories actually do a lot better when I'm just moving around and I'm not reading off into anything. So I'm going to be a little more scattered, but at the exact same time, if you guys remember Cavo, if you could hear it before, Cavo, Crocodile Dundee with Mad Max persona. So Friday the 13th, I wake up. I'm awake at 3 a.m. This is the day of the boar hunt. It's 3 a.m. And yes, I'm awake because of the hunt itself, but I am also awake because the little shack that I was staying in, the little trailer that I was staying in, the door is trying to knock itself off its hinges. And it's literally tied by a tiny little string, and I'm watching this string fray itself at 3 in the morning. And I keep going through my head with everything that's going on inside my body. With inside all my emotions, everything along those lines. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this thing is going to knock off and I'm gonna wash away. So that's part of me. The other part is, F yeah, the boar hunt is canceled. I don't have to go on this thing with this insane psycho. This is awesome. And I'm still not talking into the microphone, even though I'm walking around. Excuse me. And the other part of me is thinking, oh my gosh, what if I get stranded? Because the storm is one of the most intense storms that I have been through in my life. Still today, I used to live in Asia where they have rain seasons, monsoon seasons. And this is still one of the most intense storms I've been through. And so the other part of me is going, oh, what if it actually floods and I get stuck here for months? Like Cavo was telling me what happened to his family last year. So I'm going through a lot, and I'm just thinking about all of these things. I have a journal listed in this, and in this journal, it starts popping up. I have 20 different entries between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. because I just wake up and I'm like, oh, laptop, just type in what I'm feeling. And there's all these things going through me. I'm not gonna get into all of that. I'll share it at some point. But Facebook or something along those lines. I'll actually show photos. It's a really good idea. I'll show photos of the Facebook stuff, of Cavo and all that stuff. So check it out. But wake up again for like the 10th time, and it's like 6 or 7 in the morning, and it's already hot. It's sweltering. You have had that rain this whole time, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's gotta be canceled after what I just heard. So I untied the string and I opened the door, and even the grass, the tall foot-long grass, is completely dry. I am in an area that never got rain, but when it did, it wanted it so bad, it just sucked everything into the ground. So I'm like, crap, I gotta go on this thing. And not only that, because of the humidity, because of the heat, I'm walking to breakfast, and I can feel my lips cracking already at this point. It's like pie crust in the oven or something like that. Like this, it's this hot already at 6 or 7 in the morning. And I'm eating breakfast, and his wife had cooked breakfast and eggs, and I'm already sweating into my eggs. And he comes out and he just hands me a belt with a Bowie knife. And it's a Bowie knife, a good 15 inches, something along those lines. And he starts walking me through what's gonna happen. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I didn't sleep at all. Is there an IV drip for coffee? Is there something I can get? Because this is a lot to hit me with in the morning. And as we're going through it, he basically just gives a breakdown. We release the dogs. We follow them. And then you're the one that's going to have to be the one that stabs it. And I'm like, haven't you heard? Sorry.
Sorry, I want everybody
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
everybody to hear your story.
I really like that microphone.
And I'm thinking, I got to get really friendly with this thing, don't I? All right.
I love on it.
And I'm and I'm thinking, didn't you hear anything? Like, I was still a naive kid from California. I've never even shot a gun, let alone gone hunting or anything. And I'm the one that's gonna be the one stabbing this thing? He's like, yeah, man, you got this. The thing is, I still didn't even trust this guy. I still didn't even think that this was a legitimate thing. I thought that this was one of the ways to actually off me. And so, it was a heavy breakfast. It was a really heavy breakfast. And waking up, trying to wake up still, even after I had eaten, we're walking to the truck to load up, and his dogs are off leash. And that already makes me pucker. Like, oh. And his dogs feel the energy. They know what's going to happen. And so they are so excited that they're actually starting to turn on each other. And I'm still thinking in my head, all right, Friday the 13th, I'm really not suspicious, but this is a little too much to handle. And all of the dogs are interacting with each other in a horrible way, shape, or form, except for one that is sitting, again, stoically. Stoic was a very common adjective in this memory. This dog is sitting stoically on the back of his truck as he's tying up this armor, this sheet across the chest of this dog. And I realized, oh, this is the alpha. This is actually the alpha. And I had remembered stories. I had just heard a story even before I went to see him. And that was one of the things that bothered me so much about going to do one of these boar hunts, is of a boar hunter who had rifles and things like that with other friends who had rifles. And they had a dozen dogs with them, and they took on a 300-pound boar, and they lost 5 dogs with armor before they even brought the thing down. And I'm thinking, we are going out with Bowie knives. It's just me and him, and I don't even count. I'm a half at most of a person for this. And we have only 3 dogs. And I was like, well, where's the armor for the other 2? And he goes, it's too expensive. It's cheaper to actually breed more dogs. Damn it, dude. Come on, give me something. And so we load up. We start driving, and we're driving, 4x4 area through the rainforest, and we're going through this. And I see this random little sign that says World Heritage Rainforest. And I'm like, are we in the World Heritage Park right now? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, isn't that illegal? He goes, only if you tell anyone about it. So sorry, Cava. And so we just keep driving. And, you know, until we see some fresh diggings along the side, and he immediately pulls over. Releases the dogs. We get out, he releases the dogs, and they go batshit crazy. They goes, really got to get friendly with this thing. They start going real crazy, running around. And I'm thinking, okay, what am I doing in this situation? And he immediately cuts my thoughts short and he goes, hey, I have no clue where we are. So don't lose me or else you're lost. I'm like, oh God, still. And the dogs, at that moment, the dogs take off and they go running. And so I just chase after Cavo. It's gotten to the point where I am no longer on a hunt. I am just there to stick with that guy. So I can at least be in the shit with that guy. And they have these vines in these jungles called wait-a-whiles. And the reason they call them wait-a-whiles is because they're long, they drape all the way down from the branches, and they're razor sharp. They're about a quarter to half an inch of thorns all on one side. So if you get caught, the only way is to actually go the other way or to chop them. I don't want to be left behind. So I'm running through these things, and we're running for about a mile before we actually stop. And my forearms are just, they're sliced, they're cut up. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't hear the dogs at all. Is this a bust? And this is only like half an hour into it. I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is a bust, maybe this is nothing. And he ends up going, just be quiet. And we're listening, and there's no sound. Except for our breathing and the adrenaline that is just going through my system right now. And my mind was just racing. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm still trying to figure out how to get out of this. I'm still wondering if this is going to go through. I also know that I need to do what I need to do. And then we hear the baying in the distance, far distance. And so we start again. And immediately the adrenaline pops up and the mind almost shuts off. As the adrenaline is going, you're just thinking of one thing. And then we start hearing the squealing and everything along those lines, and we know it's got it trapped. And I'm thinking, oh crap, this is nuts. So the adrenaline really takes over at this point. And as we're approaching, as we're going through all the wait-a-whiles, all this jungle, we run for another kilometer maybe. And I see something going on in a dry creek bed. And without thinking, I immediately jump down into the creek bed.
Chris, in the mic, yeah.
Jump down into the creek bed.
Thanks.
And I gotta get one of those little strap things. So I jump down into this creek bed and look up. And as soon as I look up, I get a good scene, finally, a good vision of what's going on. And the boar breaks free and starts charging right at me. And I don't know what happens exactly, but the next memory I have is me halfway up a tree, looking behind me as this boar runs past. And somehow I had climbed back up and into a tree. I wasn't even in the dry creek bed at this point. And the dogs come and overtake it again. And then Cavo comes out of nowhere. I didn't even know where Cavo was anymore. And he runs from behind as the dogs are holding the boar. He runs behind and grabs the legs, just flips it. And that way he loses his momentum and he can't kill his dogs. And I jump down, and I know for a second that at least the dogs are safe, even though I hated the dogs. And so I stopped to take in the scene, and I'm like, whoa, what is happening? And as soon as my mind was hitting that, I'm just hearing, stab it! It's like, oh shit, okay. And I come in, and there is no hesitation at that point. I go through and stab it right under the armpit where he had told me. And that's where you get the cleanest shot to the heart without any bone, without any obstructions. The noises that were made still hang around, but it was short. It happened really quickly. And as soon as it laid limp, I remember standing up, and I'm just covered in blood at this point. And I stand up and I start like looking at the scene, and I feel the adrenaline dropping. I feel all of a sudden like more of a presence, a calmer sense. And I can almost see it in the dogs too. It's like the dog's adrenaline was draining. And Cavo pops up sprightly. He's like, let's see how you did. I'm like, whoa, that was weird, man. You gotta tone it down. And, you know, part of the weirdness of Cavo and part of the uncomfortable feeling that I always got from him was how he used to brag about his dad being a butcher and how great he was at carving up a carcass. And by the time I'm thinking about all this, he's already got it gutted. It's clean. And he picks up a heart and he shows it to me. And he goes, that is the best, most clear shot that I've ever seen anyone do. He's like, most people nick the heart, most people whatever, but you hit it dead center the very first time. And for the first time in this whole ordeal, I actually sensed something that is good feeling, and it was pride. And it conflicted with everything else of my, you know, raised by a deadhead hippie and a school mom. So this was something that didn't sit well with me for most of the time. And he goes, well, for doing such a good job, your reward is you get to carry it back. Wait, this isn't a team thing? Like, nope. And I was like, how do I even carry this thing back? It's huge. And again, this is a shell at this moment. It took him 1 minute to do this. This was a normal thing. This was a Friday for him. And he goes, oh, you know how a hot dog goes. Hot dog in a bun goes. Like you put the carcass around your shoulders. Shoulders are the hot dog. Carcass is the bun. God damn it. I've gone this far, let's do this. So, do that, proceed to go about almost 2 miles back, roughly, and thank goodness he knew where he was going. He might as well have been taking us in circles, but whatever it was, I knew I got back to that truck. And I'm climbing in, and he goes, no, you're too disgusting. You go in the back with the dogs. I'm like, the dogs? And that damn mother wolfhound. And I'm thinking, no, they don't like me. And he goes, no, they're too tired.
Are they?
Like, after all I have been through, you're gonna sit me back in the dogs that went after me earlier. And he was right though. The dogs were too tired. But for that whole ride back, that damn bitch of a mother wolfhound was sitting right next to me, watching me and staring at me the whole ride home. And so I never got any relief at that point. But get back. He starts skinning it, I start scrubbing the shit out of my hands.
Don't forget to talk into it.
Start scrubbing the shit out of my hands. I'm sorry about that noise. Sorry, Facebook. I know the Facebook affects more. And I'm going through. I'm visualizing those movies where they're like, I can't get myself clean. And I look over and Cavo's skinning the thing, and here I am trying to peel off my shirt, and I can't help but see the similarities. Or see the mimicking aspects of it. And all of a sudden a neighbor comes up. Neighbor drives up. Neighbor, I don't know if it was the closest neighbor, the furthest neighbor, didn't care. I drop back down and she's like, I just saw that you had a carcass and you must have done the hunt. I wanted to stop by and see what it was like. And they carry on the conversation, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, well, I'm going back into town if you need anything. And I was like, oh, well, I need to go back into town. And so she's like, all right, cool down. She's like, I'll come and pick you up tomorrow morning. And at that point, Cavo's like side-eyeing me. He's like, oh, come on, dude. You could have done better, but... And he tosses me the head. And I'm like, all right. He's like, hey, do you want the tusks? And I was like, isn't it illegal to take tusks out of Australia? He's like, only if they find you. It's like, all right, actually, I would like that. He's like, normally I sell them at market for jewelry, but you can take it. He's like, just make sure to give the skull to the dogs after you're done. What? Such a different world we come from. So I chisel out the tusks. He showed me how really fast to chisel them out, and then he just kind of dropped the skull on the ground. And Mina, that dog that I was just always like, yes, good girl, she comes running up and she grabs it and tail's wagging, and then she takes off. And I was like, if I was anywhere else, even if I was back in America, this would be a golden retriever with a squeaky toy. Like the exact same mentality and energy coming from that dog. It's like just thinking they just grew up in different areas. So I did get back, and it was about 12 years later, roughly about 12 years later, that I get an email from Cavo. Now keep in mind, I had never tried to contact him, reach out to him. We weren't pen pals. There was nothing about this besides that time. 12 years later, I get an email from him. And he goes, hey, Chris, hope all is well. I married a woofer. Here's a photo. And you can see the photo, you can't see anything in the photo, it's so pixelated. And he goes, here's the wedding. And so the government won't let me ship in a laser. I was wondering if I can ship it to you and then you can just mail it to me. And I was like, a laser? You're straight up Dr. Evil, dude. And that was the last I heard from him. That's the end of the story.